I am excited, guys. I am so excited. Let's go ahead and get started. Guys, I have such a special guest here for us today. You know, at least a couple times a year, we have a special guest join us. Guys, I want to introduce you to Dr. Laura Delizonna. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She's a Stanford University instructor, internationally recognized executive coach, leading expert in psychological safety and high performance leadership. She holds a PhD from Boston University with a doctoral research at Stanford and Harvard. She taught at Stanford Continuing Studies for 16 years and serves on the international faculty at McKinsey & Company. Please help me welcome our very special guest, Dr. Laura Delizonna.
Welcome.
Welcome, Doctor.
Welcome, Doctor.
What I'd love to focus on today is how to embody a growth mindset. And what I'm going to focus on today, because I know you already do this quite well, is when it gets a little bit tricky, when it gets more difficult, when it gets into the gray zone of our favorite topic, when we make a mistake, when there's an error, when things go south and they don't go as planned. So, as it would be, we're going along our path, working hard, and good things are happening. Yay! And then the next day comes, oh, bad things happen. Then bad things happen, and then it's going to come back up, right? Sooner or later. But how do we ride out that the troughs? How do we ride it out and actually bounce not back, but forward and beyond? And as we would call this, well, let's face it, that's life, right? But how can we ride through that and actually use it to our advantage when those bad things or unwanted things happen? Now, the problem is often in our worst moments, not in our best moments, our reaction can be, well, when that bad thing happened, whose fault, right? We can go like, what went wrong? Who did it? Who's responsible here? The finger pointing can set in, even if it's an initial impulse and we don't act on it. The second way, when we're not at our best, that we can go into is, that we can react is, I can't do this. Like, how did I go wrong? How did that self-doubt? And the problem with both of these impulses is that it leads us to play small. And this to me is a tragedy that we must avoid at all costs. So I want you to reflect for a moment, because we all do this, even the most optimistic and the most resilient of us have faced something where we messed up and we gave up prematurely. Now, sometimes there's wisdom in pivoting and trying and going on a new course of giving up. But I'm talking about those moments where you prematurely concluded, I can't. So if you would type it into a chat box or in just a few words, raise your hand, pipe in, bring your voice in. When was a moment? I can tell you one when I was a kid. Let's start, as a child. This happens really early. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I was in second grade. You can't see, but if you saw me, I am small. I'm not exactly going to be like the VIP athlete and the VP athlete on the team. I'm 5'3", but I love to play sports, and I was playing soccer. And the first and only goal I made, I was playing as a fullback. The ball came at me, and I went to kick the ball, and I did, but the ball went in
wrong direction.
So I made a goal for the opposite team. After that, I was so humiliated, I gave up. I never went on a sports soccer team again. Now, I had a belief that I couldn't do it. It was tragic because actually, I'm a great skier. I can do all sorts of other sports. But I felt so humiliated, I gave up. Okay, so Alexis is saying college. Wow. Okay, thank you for sharing that, Alexis. I gave up teaching math to my daughter. Oh, right? This is so first time asked to present. Daniel, thank you for sharing that. Yana, I decided not to try market my chocolate souffles. Oh my gosh, that is the biggest tragedy. I want to try them. Okay, gave up on math when trigonometry came into the picture, Monica. I gave up working out, Hazel. Riding a roller coaster. See how this happens? And this is a common thing. Small things, big things, riding a roller coaster. Gave up leveling up my Spanish. First time I was asked to present for GM. Gave up stop eating snacks. I want to hear more about that. Spanish, playing the guitar. Oh my gosh. So we have so many things where we went into I can't mode prematurely. I was never going to be the greatest soccer player that ever lived, but I could have had a whole lot of fun doing it, right? And I could have gotten a lot better. So maybe I would have scored a goal for our team, right? But I never did. Now, it's not our fault, and we all need to know about this. Despite our best efforts and despite our best, again, resilience, we are all endowed, wired, in fact, with a negativity bias. I love this little cartoon. It feels like, and it sounds like sometimes, the one character says, something's wrong. And the other one says, but look at everything that's right. And the first character says, who cares, right? So we have this negativity bias of one, we overestimate threat. When your boss says, I want to talk to you today at 11 a.m., come into my office or on Zoom, get off, no matter what you're doing, come and talk to me ASAP. You're like, oh, cool, I'm finally getting that raise. What went wrong? What did I do wrong? Am I getting laid off? Two, we underestimate resources, both in ourselves and in others. If we only learn the skills, if we ask for help, would someone say yes? Would they jump in, or would they be like, no, I'm too busy? Three, we overlook opportunities. When we look out over the horizon, we go into more of a scarcity mindset than an abundance mindset. Oh, the housing market. Oh, the industry's down. That no one's going to, or we're not going to be able to. It's not possible. We go into that prematurely. So it's not our fault that sometimes we get into that I can't mindset, and yet we must find a way to overcome that. So if you're like, actually, I got this, I'm going to give you a little quiz. Okay, this is our first pop quiz. What do you see here? Type it into the chat box. This is a phrase. What phrase is it? Type it into the chat box. Let's see what we've got here. Okay. Oh, nice ones. Okay. Someone shouted out. What do you see?
Opportunity is now here.
Yes, we could see opportunity is nowhere, or we could see opportunity is now here. We want to get into that first one where we see opportunities and create opportunities where there are seemingly none. Another way of thinking about this is I love this concept of kintsugi. The Japanese always have the best words for phrases that we don't have in English. This is the art of translated into golden joinery. When a dish breaks, when something goes wrong, they don't just throw that pottery out into the garbage. It's not trash. It is then glued back together in a far more beautiful, unexpected way, using golden glue to meld those pieces back together. What was broken is now art. what is broken is now more beautiful? How can we approach our mistakes when things fall off the table with this attitude of how can I make something even more beautiful out of this? Easier said than done. I know that you apply and you live by the growth mindset at work. So what I want to focus on is how we really get into together that growth mindset. And what are the conditions that you can intentionally build in order to create an environment of this kintsugi, where something happens that we didn't want, and you might feel embarrassed, you might feel a tinge of defeat, you might feel guilty because you let your team down, or you might have some self-doubt and even going into some shame. And to stop that process and say, no, that's a fixed mindset. How can we move together and support each other? And this is what I love about your team, and this is why I'm so excited to talk about this today, is because in community, we do this even better than by ourselves. When we create the conditions intentionally of learning together and being seen together and embodying this statement, okay, we didn't do it yet. I can't do it yet. Not yet is the growth mindset. It's not ignoring problems. It's saying we're not there yet, but we will get there together. And to create this environment, that requires a climate of psychological safety, is what we call it in organizational psychology. Psychological safety, and we all intuitively know this. We know it's when it's here and when it's not there. And we've probably all been on teams where it's both, right? Where we've experienced both in different teams. Psychological safety is an interpersonal climate. It's unspoken, but it's something you feel where you feel safe to take risks and you feel safe being vulnerable. Taking risks like saying, I don't know if this is going to work, but I want to try it because it seems like it might be the next big thing. It might be that feeling vulnerable of saying, you know what, I don't know, or I made that mistake, I'm sorry, and then owning it and growing together. Of saying, this is beyond my experience level, and I'm going to learn, and I need some guidance on this. This is an environment where people talk about mistakes more openly, with more courage and encouragement from our peers, so that we can get to the next big thing. If we were to sum it up, psychological safety is a type of trust, and it's the answer to what I believe is an evolutionary-based question. And that question is, are you for me or against me? Now think about it. When you feel like someone has your back, when your team has your back, and I have a feeling you have a lot of this already, so I want you to be thinking about how can we up level? How can we bring this even more? How can I personally express implicitly and explicitly that I am I've got my back, I've got your back, my teammates' back, rather than when things go wrong, we go into finger pointing, right? And so think about it when you feel like when the answer is, I don't know if this person is quite for me. It's not about agreement. It's about, are you for me? Are you with me? Are you on my side no matter what goes wrong? When we feel that way, we will naturally, and we probably should at some level, go into avoidance and defense. We avoid conflict. Silence is often the biggest tell that there's low psychological safety. We don't want to admit errors because we would be foolish, frankly, to do so because there are consequences. Blame and criticism because more common, and sometimes how it shows up is just a lot of image management. In contrast, this is what we're going for. An environment where people take responsibility, they take risks, positive conflict happens, healthy debate, opposing ideas, dissent. That's all of the things behaviors that drive innovation. Admit errors. Errors are talked about more readily, more often. These teams talk about more errors. It's not that they have more errors, but they talk about them more. And they're open to those sort of rebels, virtuous, principled rebels in the team who are willing to stick their neck out and say, I have an unconventional idea. I have an unpopular view here. And that is done out of an effort to drive innovation and progress and solutions forward. With more candor, more feedback, sometimes tough feedback, and even more appreciation, because sometimes even that can feel awkward, right? Okay, so I want you to think about what does your team do well here? And I'm excited to hear because I think you do a lot well. I've already seen what some behaviors like this in the minutes that I've witnessed your interactions. If somebody wants to come off mute and put your voice into the room.
I'd say we're very open to unconventional solutions.
Oh, that is music to my ears. I love that. That is so not super common on teams. And it's one of my new passions. How can we be open to unconventional ideas even more? Thank you. What else?
We are very, very open to constructive criticism because we do daily trainings and we constructively criticize each other's work product daily in an open forum.
Awesome.
Laura, we're also victim of the other side, unfortunately, from time to time. Avoiding conflict and going to silence. Hiding errors is something that, happened just yesterday. And so, yeah, I think image management, we fall into those traps.
Yeah. And so I want you to think for a moment of a time when you avoided conflict, hid something like, maybe it wasn't even major, but you weren't like super excited about bringing it into the room that made a mistake or something went wrong. I'll tell you one that actually had not tragic, but unfortunate consequences, had significant consequences. I was working on a team. It was a startup. I was chief learning officer. This was my dream job. And as I do this, go ahead and put your comment of what your team does well into the chat box. So we were working towards bringing conscious leadership. We were so passionate. All of us were like, yes, we loved each other. It was so good. We were really excited to be doing the work and to be doing it together. And we started to fall into being really nice. And there was sort of became an implicit rule about not like disagreeing, about maybe not really, giving opposing ideas or dissent. I started to feel like my voice wasn't being heard. I sort of gave up trying to fight for it because I got tired of fighting for airtime and space. And I started to feel, I brought it up to the CEO, I'm starting to feel a little bit like maybe there's a little bit of competition between me and a colleague. And his answer was, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. Don't rock the boat. It's fine. I unfortunately followed that advice. He didn't follow up. He sort of didn't want to make waves, figured it would just pass. We were a nice culture, but we weren't a psychologically safe culture. And it ultimately led to our demise. The startup did not make it. I opted out. One of the co-founders opted out. Our tech guy opted out. Pretty soon it devolved. So it happens even with best intentions. We don't want to fall into nice as a way to feel safe. We're going to talk about how to build it in an authentic way. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of really great things. So you're communicating. Diego says, I'll always remember while I was still understanding the first pieces of culture at the organization. By far, admitting errors was notoriously natural. Wow, great. Like a wave of good and bad things, we alternate between both. The key is consistently doing things the responsible way, Yana. Thank you. Communicating and aligning goals. Awesome. Unconventional ideas. Okay, great. So let's talk about how to build off of your best, and to bring in, I want to bring in a model for when you are feeling a bit vulnerable, and a model for how you as a team and you as individuals can admit and talk about errors and mistakes in an empowered way. Okay, was there a question or a comment? No, okay. And I'm going to ask you to do this in a breakout room with something real in your life. So as we are talking about this, I want you to be thinking, what's my own example? How does this relate to me? So have you all heard of the hero's journey? Hero's journey is this sort of archetype that if you think of all the great movies, Star Wars is the classic one. Steven Spielberg, and George Lucas, they've used this model to create the nuts and bolts of the narrative for their best movies. Okay, so there's a setup. This is every day I was working towards, or in a movie, this is what's happening. And then there is a problem that happens. The hero has a departure and is set off on their journey and encounters some adversity. They fail, they become defeated, something happens internally or externally where things go wrong. All right, I told you about my startup. We were so excited, my dream job. And then some problems started to set in. I made the mistake of continuing to stay silent, of giving up, of following bad advice, frankly, right? And had I not, maybe I could have turned things around, but I made the mistake, right? And I would respond in a different way next time. And then through that adversity, we learn and we grow through it. Sometimes it's in hindsight, like in my example, where I'm like, oh geez, I didn't realize how I just gave up prematurely, right? Or with soccer, same thing. But what I learned is oh, I need to trust my intuition better, and to not go into self-doubt and say, well, maybe it's me that's the problem, but instead say, no, there is something here that we all need to talk to, and have 10% more courage to bring that in and follow my intuition, even if I'm wrong, even if they, whoever they is, think I'm wrong, but to follow what I believe and get clear and confident and stand tall, even when there's uncertainty. And that's where the growth comes in. And I vow that I will never be in that position again where I have, and of course I probably will because we learn these lessons over and again, but have, an intuition and to then cower, but instead stand tall and say, look, I might be reading this situation wrong, but this is what I'm seeing. Okay, tell us briefly what it was like to hear from your partner about their adversity experience.
It felt good because to see how others also learn from their mistakes, and how my partner actually overcome the mistake and it's now doing what he wanted to do. It's awesome. So it felt great.
So in other words, Camilla is a sadist. She likes hearing about other people's pain.
She likes causing it as well.
Acting at it.
How could you bring in that 10% more courage and openness, transparency, to transform the level of psychological safety, the support for others on your team, to make to enable them to feel a little bit more like you are with them, not against them, that they can grow and learn in front of you, with you, as opposed to showing you only their best, or maybe being reticent or hesitant to share their flaws and limitations. So what are some actions that you could take to encourage and foster that psychological safety with your team members? Raise your hand. And these are, okay, go ahead, Daniel.
Open up about your own weaknesses.
Great. And in what context might you do that in the next week?
Talk about mistakes that I have done, and be all open and honest about them, or they won't be scared to open about the issues that they're running into as well.
Great. Thank you. Who else? And maybe someone who hasn't brought their voice into our room yet today.
Daniel, I just wanted to. I wanted to piggyback on what Daniel said. I think it's really the vulnerability. That's why I like the activity that we did. Like, both of us would have to share our mistakes. You even started it, Laura. So I'm really impressed that you even shared your mistake. But also, like, not to judge the person. Like, we don't focus on what was the mistake about, but something that what we can do to resolve that mistake together. So they would feel like it's okay to make mistakes, because they will back me up, and I will not be alone. So that's for me.
Oh, I love that. So that I will not be alone. Oh my gosh. Because when we feel like we are the only one, when we feel like it's just us, right? It's just me, then we're going to go silent, cower, hide, maybe even pretend at our worst, right? But instead, when we can bring others with us and unite in that common humanity, that, man, life is like this, right? Those waves of up and down, and things are going great. And then guess what? Something else is going to happen. But instead, this happened, right? So that we're not alone, enabling people to feel that. Great. Well, I want to thank you now for bringing your reflections, your voices, your thoughts, your vulnerabilities into our room, and also your hope and encouragement for others. I see this as a very profound work. This is about enabling others to bring their best, about us having the courage to bring our best, to elevate everybody, right? When tides rise, all boats is my belief. And so we can go farther together, as that African proverb says. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So I want to thank you for enabling me to come into your circle of learning today. It's an honor.
Give it up for
Thank
Dr.
you,
Laura
Laura.
Delizonna.
Great job.
Laura.
Thank you.
I gotta tell you.